Good morning, everybody. Dylan Schnazy here from Steady Presence Farms. And I thought I would take some time to explain the third permaculture principle. And that is obtain a yield. And I thought this would be a perfect time to talk about this because I'm going to do just that. This apple tree fell down in a recent storm that we had, which is sad. We don't like to lose fruit trees, but it happened. Nothing I can do about it. But what I can do is instead of chopping this up and burning it, or if I was in the city, I would chop this up and set it out on the curb. What I'm gonna do from it is I'm going to take from it and use it for myself in the form of giving it to the rabbits. So I've come across this situation and I am going to take a yield from it. Now, what does that mean? What is a yield? So when I was a chemistry student, we would be graded on the yield we got when doing a chemical reaction. So in chemistry, the yield is just the end, how much of an end product do you have? You mixed 100 grams of material, and if you got 80 grams of a byproduct out of it, your yield was 80%. And so in permaculture, whenever we engage in an activity, it should not be at a loss. We should always be, whenever we design something, we should always look to gain something from the system. And I think that goes against a moral or an ethic that we have in our culture that could be described as selfish or self-centered. And I'm going to explain why I don't think that's the case and why I think it's actually okay. The dog just peed on these apple branches that I'm going to give to the Thanks for ruining my yield. Okay, I can't use those. So when you are designing either your lifestyle or a permaculture design on a farm or in your backyard, if you don't obtain a yield for yourself, you have to get that thing from an outside source. So let's say, no one would do this, but let's say you planted an apple tree and you planted it just because you like how it looks. And you let all of the apples fall on the ground and rot on the ground, and you didn't take those. Well, now you have to get more food from the grocery store because you did that. And so what I'm saying is if you don't find chances to take a yield from the systems that you create, you have to get your needs from outside sources, which takes fuel, which takes energy, which takes manpower and people to procure those things for you. So I would say that obtaining a yield as much as possible is not selfish, and it's looking after yourself first, and so that other people can have resources. If they're not in a place to implement some of these strategies that I'm talking about. Okay, I think I should be good here. Another reason why it's important to take a yield from your activities is I don't want to get political here. I am not a political person, but it's a fact that just the act of living our life, we are taxed. And I'm not going to say that's a good or a bad thing. It just is. And so that makes me think of the song "Taxman" by the Beatles. So the song goes, if you walk the street, I'll tax your feet. If you take a ride, I'll tax your seat. It talks about how, especially in the UK at the time that the song was written, everything was taxed. Your whole life was taxed. So it's even more important that if you don't take a yield from various activities that you participate in, just by taking a yield in your everyday activities, you net zero because other things are taken from you in the form of taxes, gas taxes, sales taxes, etc. What are some yields that you can take from your system? Well, I'm taking multiple yields just by doing my morning chores. So when I fed the ducks, I took a few scoops of mulch and I added to our compost pile. So I've taken the yield of fertility just by being out by the ducks, feeding them, and noticing that I could top off the compost. I am taking in the yield of beauty. Look at that gorgeous sun. It's behind the tree. You can't really see it. But that's a yield. If you take beauty out of a system, that's adding to your life. I'm sure I'll think of more as I walk here. Even so, as I'm doing my chores, I'm observing the animals. That's giving me a time to. The yield is the time given to me that I can observe the animals and see how they're doing. Oh, another great example is whenever I am walking. Scratch that. Whenever I am bringing the kids, let's say to Grandma and Grandpa's, I'm always on the lookout for things on the side of the road to essentially pay for the gas it took me to drive out there. Come on, Charlie. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for bags of shredded leaves, lawn waste, furniture, anything that could help me on the farm. I'm always looking. And sometimes I hit the jackpot where, like last year, someone put all of their bags of oak leaves out on the street. And so I filled up the van, like nine bags of beautiful oak leaves. And I heard oak leaves are really good for the garden. I don't know why. Something about them when they break down is beautiful. Okay, I always make sure whenever I'm leaving a place that I have everything that I need before I go on to the next part of my chores. It makes for more efficient chores. Oh, another way that I obtain a yield is if I'm with the kids and they're doing great playing by themselves, I take a look around and see what needs to be done. And if I'm by, let's say, like if I'm by that apple tree that I was just at, I'll get out my pruners, which is in my handy bag here. Sorry, SOE Tactical. I use a fanny pack when this when this wears out, I'll place an order for one of your bags. But I'll take my snips out and I'll trim a willow tree and take the yield from the willow tree and feed it to the rabbits. Yeah, so like I said before, a yield doesn't always have to be in the form of, or in the context of homesteading. It could be taking in beauty, taking in a dividend from stocks, selling something off, selling your excess clothes, selling in a rummage sale. During your daily life, look around and see, oh, what can I be not taking from this situation, but what can I be utilizing? So I hope that gives you some food for thought as I feed these rabbits these apple branches. And as you watch my my permaculture videos, you know, this is just a basic introduction to what is permaculture. I plan on, you know, diving a little deeper and talking about some major projects, some major environmental, humanitarian, and food producing projects throughout the world, and how they applied the permaculture principles. And then after this video, or after this series of videos, then I'll get into the deeper philosophical undertones of permaculture. There's what we call a prime directive and the 3 ethics. But for people that are not that don't understand permaculture, that it seems a little abstract. So I always like to talk about the principles first, because they're hands-on, they make sense, you can apply them to your life. So look forward to that, and we'll catch you later, guys.